from my perspective, this is where the hard part comes in of it's indefinable, intangible thing. You were inspired. It was just directed to copy.
Let me start I use the word defending. That may not be the right thing.
Jim Lee is an artist, obviously.
He's an incredible
Yes,
artist.
he's one. Yeah, it's the
one of
reason
my
why
favorites.
he's in charge.
Yeah. I used the word defending before. That may not be the right word. When I debate with myself in my head about this type of stuff, there are some things that I end up stalling at. So let me.
Okay.
I want to be wrong. So let me run this by you here.
Sure.
First and foremost,
Let me hear your corporate shill
if there
argument.
wasn't, or if they were AI arts, why would that not be human art? There's a human being on the other side of this inputting. It's like when we talked about DALL-E forever ago, I remember what we said is this is a different skill.
This is a tool.
It's not art.
Yeah.
It is a different skill, though, and it is a skill that you have to be able to input the right things in the right way. And if you can't do that, if you don't learn to speak the language of the AI, then it's not going to come out right. You're not going to get what you want.
At the time, I think our motivation for talking about it was that an article had come out about somebody had won an art contest using it.
Right.
And this was early enough that was not like part of people were upset.
Yeah.
But it was not part of the rules, you know? There wasn't a AI section
AI,
only or like no AI rule. It was just a thing somebody did, and they talked about it and had to go through like I were remembering from years ago, but a couple hundred different permutations of the phrases he wanted to use and the specific language in the prompt to get the art out of it that he was looking for. So
why isn't this human art? Why isn't this human made?
I would say it is. I would say at the bare bones definition, you okay over there?
Sorry, I just turned like this, and it looks like I got a giant bald spot.
It looks
right
like
here.
a scar.
And I don't know why. That's new.
It comes for all of us, man.
Anyway, that's weird.
Not me. I have beautiful, perfect hair, but for everybody else, it's
weird.
So anyway, I would say it is human art in the sense that this wouldn't exist without human imposition.
Mm-hmm.
Humans create the models that, you know, the AI bots or whatever that are doing this. Yes, it's not going to sit there. There is no AI generated thing that's going to come from nowhere. Somebody has to go in, artist, whoever, Scott Snyder. Can't think of a single artist at AI or at DC right now. But can't just, like, they're not going to sit there and then pick up a comic book that was created and drawn by this AI. They have to go in and would have to actively say, create a Batman comic in the absolute Batman art style, you know, whatever. With fighting the Joker, fighting whoever. So I would say, yes, it has to be human. I think part of our definition has to be human. It is motivated by human endeavors. But I would say it is a problem. Like, calling it human art is not entirely true because the actual spark of human creativity is lost. This is where we get into the spiritual discussion of it, I think, where there's lots of technicalities we can say, but I think the problem that a lot of people are coming up against when it comes to this kind of thing is that there is a intangible, undefinable nature to art, and it's hard to describe, and it's hard to define it from either side, pro or anti, because it then implies something much larger about humanity. The idea of a soul, the idea of creativity are not what's the term I'm looking for, mundane. They're not physical. Material. That's the word I'm looking for. In a materialistic universe, you could not have creativity. You would simply have existence.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're running into this. And so I would say that in that process of creating, you are putting in lines. You are saying something. Yes, do this, create this for me. It is human generated, human started, at least. The genesis is from a human mind, but then it goes through a system that removes the human element from it and create something that is supposed to resemble something that humans have created.
So, it's not original. It is something that humans are going to and using other people's work to compile together to create something new or whatever else. What's the difference between that and having an artist who grew up loving Tim Sale, loving Jim Lee, loving Ed Benes, these incredible artists out there, and working on copying their art? Like, for example, I drew a lot back in high school and my early years of college, but all of my art was based on Dragon Ball Z. Like, it was Akira Toriyama.
Clearly, the Toriyama, it's the art style with the super triangular jaw.
Absolutely.
And the big hair
and at first, I could only draw, like, I would have to have the still from DBZ, and I could draw that thing. But as I got better, I started to be able to draw, freehand and do my own art, but it was all still in exactly that style. It would be similar to if I were to say, create me a picture in the style of Akira Toriyama, and then it comes out, in this way. I did that. I was the AI, I guess, in that scenario.
I would say there is a difference between style and product. Akira Toriyama has a very clear style. If he drew a picture that was unrelated to Dragon Quest or Dragon Ball, or any of the actual IP that Sandland, whatever he has drawn, if he drew a character that was completely original, and he showed it to me, I'd be like, or you showed it to me, I'd be like, that's an Akira Toriyama. Yeah. That's clearly his style. If you are wanting to draw a picture, pen and pencil, pencil and paper, draw a picture, you can work in his style. I would say, from my perspective, AI generated art does not care about style. Style is irrelevant. When you say Akira Toriyama's style, what you are telling it is find all of his artwork and copy it. That is not the same as inspiration. I would say from my perspective, this is where the hard part comes in of it's indefinable, intangible thing. You were inspired. It was just directed to copy. A machine cannot be inspired. It could not, without being told, copy from this. It would not know what Akira Toriyama is. It's just a machine. That's why I don't like the term artificial intelligence. I understand we use it. I don't think artificial intelligence could exist from my perspective of what intelligence is. It is purely, it is inherently uncreatable aside from the creator of the world. So I would say there's the huge difference in my mind is you can be inspired and then create your own thing that looks like what he has done, whereas a machine cannot be inspired. A machine can be directed to copy something and use the same lines. The hard part about the conversation is that there is no one for one, there is no hard line of what is and what is not. It is a spiritual conversation, is an intellectual conversation.
But I want to get to that in a second here, but you make a really, really good point here in the idea of inspiration, because if I decide as I am drawing and I get a bit of inspiration, what if I were to use a little bit of a different artist style here? Or what if I were to shade with the style of Jim Lee, but for the Toriyama style of art or whatever else? I can have a bout of inspiration and change my art as I'm creating it, or think that it might look better a little bit differently, whereas
you can make decisions.
Yes, whereas a machine will only do exactly what it's told and will only compile information. It will not create anything. And in fact, maybe that's the better term, is like the difference there is it's not creating anything, it's compiling things.
It's compiling and outputting something.
Yes.
It is not inspired by somebody's timeless style. It's not looking at it and saying, I really like Akira Toriyama. I really like his style. I like Dragon Ball Z. I'm going to create my own Dragon Ball Z-esque character in his style. It can't say those things. It can't think those things. It can read a string of letters you put into the prompt, convert them into zeros and ones, find everything that it's been trained on tagged with those same zeros and ones, put them in a big pile, create something that's essentially just an amalgamation. Or if you just say, give me a cool picture of Goku, it can just find one for you and alter it slightly so it's technically not exactly what you've already, or maybe it's just going to be exactly what you could have found on a Google search. But there's a difference there. There's a difference in the ability of the artist and the machine that even if an artist creates that machine.
Man, now that you say it, it makes me think of times, and I know so many artists who have done this, but where I would be drawing and there would be a part this big, you know, a half-inch by a half-inch square of this piece of art that I was like, that's wrong. And I hate that.
Yeah.
And then I'd erase it,
Yeah.
and then I'd draw it
Yeah.
again. He'd be like, nope, that's still wrong. I hate that. And I'd erase it, and I'd draw it again. And I'd do that like 8 times, oftentimes the face. The face would be something that I would erase and draw again over and over and over again. Then I'd finally get it right and be able to say, yes!
Yeah.
Yes, I got it. That's awesome. Whereas AI doesn't do that. It just grabs and slaps and says, here it is, Dad, is that good enough? You know, or whatever else. And just makes this statement of, this is product.
Plot.
Here am products.